The topic of this video is solving inequalities. Let's look at a problem. The sum x plus 3 times the difference x minus 4 is greater than the difference x minus 2 times the sum x plus 2. Okay, when solving inequalities, the first thing you want to do is clear any decimals or fractions, and then get rid of any grouping symbols like parentheses. We don't have any decimals or fractions, but we do have parentheses, and we'll get rid of them using the FOIL multiplication method. So let's use FOIL on these two binomials. X times x is x squared. X times a negative 4 would be subtract 4x. Positive 3 times x gives plus 3x. And positive 3 times negative 4 makes subtract 12. If I combine my like terms, I get x squared minus x minus 12. Now we'll turn our attention to the right side. If you studied factoring, you know that what we have here is the result of factoring a difference of squares. So we know that we are going to get x squared subtract 4. But if you were unsure of where this comes from, you can always do your FOIL multiplication just as we did on the left side. X times x, x squared. X times a positive 2 plus 2x. Negative 2 times an x minus 2x. Negative 2 times positive 2, subtract 4. The plus 2x and the minus 2x cancel, and we're left with x squared minus 4. Okay. Next strategy. We want to try and solve for x. I noticed that both sides of my inequality statement have an x squared. So if I were to subtract x squared on both sides, then both of those terms would be eliminated, which makes my problem simpler. Then I have negative x minus 12 is greater than negative 4. Now I want to try and get this term alone. So I'll get rid of the subtract 12 by adding 12 on both sides. And then I have negative x greater than 8. Now this is very close to the final result that I want, but I want to know something about x, not negative x. So to turn negative x greater than 8 into what I'm looking for, I just need to divide by negative 1 on both sides. And remember that when you multiply or divide an inequality by a negative, you must swap the direction of your sign. So instead of greater than, we'll now have less than. So we get the result, x is less than negative 8. The instructions for this problem do not require our answer to be in any particular format. Therefore, we can leave it as x is less than negative 8. All right, let's look at a second problem. One-fourth times the difference x subtract 10 is less than x plus 15. All right, with a problem like this, we notice that we have a grouping symbol, parentheses, as well as fractions, and we know we need to get rid of both of those things. You have a choice of which one you want to do first. In this case, I'm going to choose to distribute the fraction first. So let's distribute the fraction here and here. So 1/4 times x would just be written 1/4 x minus 1/4 times 10, which means we'll have a little bit of fractions math to do in a moment. So let's do that fractions math in our side workspace. 1/4 times 10. 10 is not a fraction, but we can write it as 1, 10 over 1. Now, 10 and 4 both have a common factor of 2, so we can reduce 10 over 4 to 5 over 2. Then, 1 times 5 is 5, 2 times 1 is 2, so 1/4 times 10 is equal to 5 halves. So we have 1/4 x minus 5 halves is less than x plus 15. Okay, great. Now we got rid of our parentheses. Next, let's get rid of our fractions. we need to multiply both sides by the least common denominator of all fractions in the inequality. My denominators are 2 and 4, and the least common denominator of 2 and 4 is 4. So I'll multiply the entire left side by 4, and I'll multiply the entire right side by 4, which means I'm now going to distribute again, here and here. So 4 times 1/4 equals 1, because those are reciprocals. 4 times 1/4 is the same thing as 4 over 1 times 1 over 4. The 4's cancel, leaving me 1. So 4 times 1/4 is just 1, and 1 times x is just x. How about 4 times 5/2? Well, 4 times 5/2 is the same thing as 4 over 1 times 5 over 2. We notice that 4 divided by 2 is 2. So we can replace 4 over 2 with 2 over 1. And now multiply. 2 times 5, 10. 1 times 1, 1. 10 divided by 1 is 10. So this gives us x minus 10. On the right side, we get 4x plus 60. Now, collect all of your variable terms together. Let's subtract 4x on both sides. That will get rid of the x on the right. And let's add 10 on both sides. That will get rid of the numbers on the left. Then our statement says negative 3x is less than 70. Negative 3x less than 70. To solve for x, divide by negative 3 on both sides. And remember that when you multiply or divide an inequality by a negative quantity, that means you must flip the sensor direction of your inequality symbol. So we get x is greater than negative 70/3. We leave our answer as negative 70/3. It cannot be reduced, and if we tried to write this as a decimal, we would find that the decimal value ends in 0.33333333. In other words, that 3 repeats, it goes on forever. We don't want any rounded values because those are not exact, so we leave our answer just like this. X is greater than negative 70/3.